Hello, welcome to another episode of Cotton. And my guest today is Paranjoy Guha Thakurta. Paranjoy Guha Thakurta is familiar with you, and he is a very eminent journalist and he was editor, political economy quickly. He is an author. So, Paranjoy da, today we are going to discuss the NewsClick thing, and particularly after the Delhi High Court judgment, recent judgment. So, first, I want you to give us a little background of the whole thing. So, and then we'll take up one after another the issues related to it. So, please.
Well, thank you so much once again, Paresh Malakar, for inviting me to your program. And thank you very much. I wish you all the best, and I hope the viewers of your program will benefit from this interaction. Let me start, give you a sort of a chronological account to the most recent judgment that has been issued by a judge of the High Court of Delhi. The entire investigation, the so-called investigation against NewsClick, the entity that runs NewsClick, that is PPK NewsClick Studio Private Limited, which is headed by Prabir Purokayastha. It started with a FIR, a first information report, which was registered by the Economic Offences Wing of the Delhi Police in 2020. In 2020. This is the Delhi Police, which comes directly under the Ministry of Home Affairs, headed by Amit Shah. Now, in February of 2021, the first raids took place on the offices of NewsClick and the residential premises of Prabir Purokayastha and his partner Geeta Hariharan. These took place in February of 2021. Remember, this was in between the two waves of COVID. And these raids were conducted by the Enforcement Directorate. The Directorate of Enforcement, which comes under the Ministry of Finance, the body which is responsible for enforcing the Foreign Exchange Management Act and the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Now, after, I will tell you what the issues were, but let me first give you the chronology of events. The raids happened. Then, in 2023, in August, an article appeared in the New York Times, and I will explain to you why that article is important. It talked about Neville Roy Singham and his associates who had given money, invested in PPK NewsClick Studio. He's a US-based, he's an American citizen, and the New York Times accused him of being a propagandist of the Chinese government. No illegality was ever alleged as far as the entities connected with Neville Roy Singham is concerned. Among the entities, there's one entity called Worldwide Media Holdings Limited Liability Company, which has invested in NewsClick. All right. Now, after this, on the 3rd of August, 2023, there was a raid that was conducted by the Special Cell of the Delhi Police under the UAPA, the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. This is the Special Cell of the Delhi Police, which is supposed to be dealing with terror crimes. For the first time in the history of India, at 6:30 in the morning, teams of police officers visited the residences, the homes of 80 people who were somehow associated either with NewsClick or with Prabir Purokayastha in his personal capacity. That includes myself. So at that morning at 6:30, the Delhi police came to my home, as well as 80 other homes in different parts of the national capital region. Later, we learned that there were other raids that took place outside Delhi and the national capital region in different parts of the country, in Mumbai, for instance, in Kerala and in Hyderabad, and so on and so forth. The short point is, never before had this kind of a raid been conducted, where there were hundreds of police officers who were summoned to the office at 3:30 in the morning, who visited the homes of people in at 6:30. Never before have the personal electronic devices, mobile phones, computers, laptops, hard disks, etc., been seized at that time by the Delhi police. So after that, this case continued and went on. On the 3rd of October 2023, Prabir Purakasta, who is in his late 70s, he was imprisoned. And he was kept in jail for roughly 7.5 months till May 2024. Again, there are several precedents of people being incarcerated in a manner which was, you could consider, illegal, but this happened to Prabir Purakasta. The entire purpose was to have a chilling effect on the media. I'll discuss these issues in greater detail as and when we have to. Now, these cases, there are several cases. There are cases, oh yes, I forgot to mention that in December of 2023, the Income Tax Department froze the bank accounts of NewsClick, as a result of which this organization, which at one time had 100 employees plus consultants plus various kinds of other service providers and other associates, started shrinking to the point where it virtually shut down. Then this is the way it continued in different courts of law, because there were cases under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, under, as I mentioned, UAPA, income tax, and so on and so forth. Finally, most recently, the High Court of Delhi, Judge Neena Bansal Krishna, pronounced on the 29th of May 2026 a detailed judgment. The detailed judgment, which is here, which runs into 41 pages here, 41 pages, it was made public on the 10th of June. It described the actions of the Enforcement Directorate and the Economic Offences Wing as mala fide, arbitrary. It was, the words the judge used were so strong. She said this is a gross abuse of the process of law, that this was aimed at suppressing the right to free expression, freedom of expression. And she said, went to the extent and said, even if you accept, firstly, she said all the allegations that have been leveled by the Enforcement Directorate, they could not prove that. And he said allegations about siphoning of funds, overvaluing of shares, paying money through the money received for salaries, consultancy fees, operational expenses, etc., etc., etc. It said there was nothing illegal about the foreign direct investment that had come to NewsClick. It had received the Reserve Bank of India approval. There was a prior approval of the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. It had violated no law. And then the judge, Neena Bansal Krishna, went to the extent of saying, even if all the allegations that are there in the first information reports of the Economic Offences Wing of the Delhi Police, of the of the Enforcement Directorate, they call it ECRI. Sorry, I've got that name wrong, the acronym wrong. It's the equivalent of a FIR that's issued by the Enforcement Directorate. It's a report, a first information report. He said, even if all the allegations are accepted prima facie, at face value, There is no evidence of any cheating, any fraud, any violation of any rule, any law. And the third party who complained was not an investor. So the short point is the process is the punishment. And this is what has happened. Prabir Purakasta is arrested on the 3rd of October 2023. He's kept in prison till May 2024. And today, in June 2026, the High Court says all the allegations are to be quashed. The FIR is to be squashed. Now, what will happen? Only time can tell whether the government authorities will appeal, whether that appeal will go to a larger bench of the High Court of Delhi, whether it will go to the Supreme Court. What will happen, we don't know. The legal battle is not yet over because these cases against NewsClick and Prabir Purokasto under the UAPA, under the Income Tax Act, all of them are actually based on the so it starts with the FIR of the Economic Offences Wing and the allegations leveled by the Enforcement Directorate. Now the question is, what happens? Now I don't know what will happen. But all I can say is that the judgment of the Delhi High Court judge, Neena Bansal Krishna, is very, very important. It's quashed the FIR, but the process is the punishment. About 100 people have lost their livelihoods. An organization has been finished. So if the process is the punishment, then the government, by its actions, which the Delhi High Court judge called malafide, has virtually shut down this organization and deprived 100 people of their livelihood. So this is the summary and this is the chronology that I have provided you.
But thank you for the detailed chronology and how it all started. And if you remember, after his arrest, we also had a discussion on this with you, particularly on this, on the issue of NewsClick. Now that the judgment, the Delhi High Court judgment, has quashed all the allegations against Prabir Purkast and NewsClick. But as you have already said, that the process is the punishment. Now, if the process is the punishment and at the end of the process, it was found that all the allegations were false, they were nullified. And we have seen what has happened to NewsClick, a very vibrant organization. We used to hear discussion between you and Prabir Purkasta on various topics and many other journalists all over the country, actually. Now, what happens from now? So if a person, the first question is, what happens from now? What is the next step? But then after that, I will come to another question. First, I would like to know from you, what is the next step?
See, the next step is up to the government. It is up to the Enforcement Directorate. It's up to the Economic Offences Wing of the Delhi Police what they want to do. They can appeal the Delhi High Court, single judge, her judgment. It can appeal to a bench, a division bench of the same court. It can go to the Supreme Court. So I cannot guess. I do not know what the government will do. One can presume that following this judgment, NewsClick and Prabir Purakasta would want their bank accounts to be unfrozen, the cases against him and several other people under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act be also quashed, because they were all dependent on the same set of allegations.
Even now, their bank account is frozen.
That's correct. That's correct. So that is by the Income Tax Department. The UAPA case is by the special cell of the Delhi police. The economic offences wing is also under the Delhi police. The first FIR, and then comes the Enforcement Directorate, the Directorate of Enforcement under the Ministry of Finance. So all of these are government bodies. How they will act, what they will do, what they will not do, only time can tell. But in my opinion, and it's not just my opinion, several people, the FIR of after the FIR of the EOW, the Enforcement Directorate went. I was summoned. I went to the office of the Enforcement Directorate on 3 occasions.
They came to your home also, no?
That they came on the 3rd of October at 6:30 in the morning, just like they visited the homes of people, about 80 people.
Abhishek Sharma and many other people.
Sharma, so many others, Urmil Lesh. But the point is, we were also asked to go to the office of the Delhi police. But the point is, what the government will do, we can wait and watch. But in my opinion, the cases that were subsequently lodged after the ED, the Enforcement Directorate, raided the office of NewsClick and the personal and the residences of Prabir Purokasta and Geeta Hariharan, the cases under the UAPA and the Income Tax Department, I think they all follow from the same allegations. Now, all these allegations have been set aside. The judge said that NewsClick has adhered to all the rules regarding valuation of shares, regarding the foreign investment cap on media organization. At that time, when in 2017, NewsClick sought a clarification from the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, they said you can go ahead. That the rules that apply to the print medium do not apply to the digital news medium. But the judges clearly said that NewsClick did not structure its investment to bypass the regulations, to allegedly overvalue its shares. And there was nothing wrong in using this money to pay salaries, consultancy fees, and other expenses. The big question is, who was cheated? Who was defrauded? The government has not been able to show anything. Was the government cheated? Who was defrauded? They've not been able, there has been no evidence, according to the judge. So everything was based on a complaint by a third party who was not an investor. Why he got into this, we don't know why he registered a complaint. But the short point is, everything seems arbitrary and an abuse of the process of law and an attempt to stifle journalism and freedom of expression. I'll just give you one more clarification. In 2017, when NewsClick sought a clarification from the Information and Broadcasting about the cap on foreign direct investment in media organization, they said no cap. And it was later, in September 2019, that the government imposed a cap of 26% on digital news media organizations. So, simple. At the time you got the foreign direct investment, you did not violate any law. The law was changed later. So what? So, what I'm trying to argue, and I'm repeating myself over and over again, the process is the punishment. All this was done to send a message to independent journalists, to journalists who were critical of the ruling establishment. It has issued a statement. They're saying all these actions were taken because they were reporting on people's movements, including the movements by the farmers. They were critical of the government's policies, including the policy on COVID. So and also the riots, the Hindu-Muslim riots that took place in northeast Delhi in early 2023. So all these things are now, the judge said these are extraneous and aimed at curtailing freedom of expression. So I think this is a very significant judgment. What happens? Let's wait and watch.
So far the legal, you see, aspects are concerned, we shall not go into much details, but the two things are very obvious that okay, the government can ask for a larger bench in the High Court, Delhi High Court itself. And the another thing is that okay, they can go after that also they can go to the Supreme Court. These are the two options available for the government. We shall not go to the details things. But the thing is, if I remember it correctly, that when this New York Times, that report, that story came out in the New York Times, the parliament session was on, and then it was discussed in the parliament. So
It
this
was
issue,
brought up. You're absolutely right. There were two people who were most vocal and vociferous about it. One was Anurag Thakur. He was that time a minister, and Nishikant Dubey, member of parliament from Godda
yes,
in
yes,
Jharkhand. They
they
brought it
said,
up.
they said, they whatever they said in the parliament, that was followed by actions by the agencies. Now the
It happened.
question,
It happened at the same time, sir. The matter
same
was
thing.
raised in Parliament after the first set of investigations and raids had happened. That is the first information report of the Economic Offences Wing, which was in 2020, and in February 2021, the raid by the Enforcement Directorate, search and seizure raid.
Now my question is that say all the allegations are baseless, and you have actually uh, immensely damaged an independent media organization. You have almost demolished,
You virtually
destroyed,
finished it.
you have
You have, you
finished
have,
it.
to use Ravish Kumar and various other people, their phrase, आप 100 व्यक्ति का पेट में लात मारा.
Lot matter.
You have
Or
destroyed the livelihoods, or you have
and
hurt the livelihoods of 100 people.
100 people, and see 100 people, that is one aspect, and then you have killed one organization, independent media organization. Now my question is, in the following this judgment, how should we respond to this thing? How should we
See,
respond to this? This is
see,
what, how, but then now the larger question is that this is the judgment of Delhi High Court, a single bench judgment of the Delhi High Court. Now, after this judgment, how do we respond to this thing? How do we
okay.
respond to the entire episode of killing an independent media platform? And also made, as Ravish Kumar was telling, and many other people are saying, actually made these people jobless, put them on the street. So how should we respond to this thing?
Paresh Malakar ji, various people have made various suggestions. At the end of the day, the lawyers of NewsClick and Prabir Purakasta has to take a call. Many people believe that those who were responsible for the shutting down of this organization, the loss of livelihood to about 100 odd people, should be held accountable and held responsible. Now, who are these people? Delhi Police comes under the Ministry of Home Affairs. Who is heading the Ministry of Home Affairs? Amit
Amit,
Shah. Okay. Now, the question would be, who should be held responsible for the loss of livelihood? So, and how should it be done? Okay. What about the media? After Anurag Thakur and Nishikant Dubey and others made all these statements, various other media organizations amplified it, the so-called Godi media. They also started calling everybody associated with NewsClick, including me. I'm just a consultant. I was just a consultant. I was a consultant till May, from May 2018 until the bank accounts were frozen in December of 2023. Yes, I was paid a consultancy fee. But who is should be held responsible? Should they also not be paid be paid a price? I mean, if you look at the Indian law, those who have made false accusations and made others suffer and caused loss of jobs and livelihood, they are also responsible. But at the end of the day, it depends on how the judge, how he or she interprets the law. What should be damages? What should be the damages? So we don't know. I am not a lawyer. I can't uh, I don't know enough to tell you what should be happening. But as a journalist, I've entered my 50th year as a journalist. I've never seen this kind of atmosphere. The whole NewsClick raid was aimed at sending out a message, a chilling message, have a chilling effect on others. You criticize the government, you raise questions against the government, you criticize government policy, then you will be accused of being anti-national. You will be accused of helping Kashmiri terrorists. You will be accused of helping farmers who are agitating for the repeal of the laws which were finally repealed. You are critical of the government's the way in which the government has handled COVID, and you become anti-national. You become a Deshadrohi. So I think the lesson that we need to learn is, though the long arm of the law is very, very long and the wheels of justice grind very, very slowly, and at a time when the higher judiciary in this country has come under the scanner of ordinary people for several judgments which have been considered questionable. You are aware I have written a book about Arun Kumar
Yes, yes,
Mishra.
I read the book.
You have read
Yeah,
it. So I think the right to free expression includes a citizen's right to criticize a judgment. So if I think a particular judgment by any court is not balanced, not fair, is not adhering to the spirit of the law, I have as a citizen the right to do it. So let us see, let us see. I am very, very happy that the judge in the Delhi High Court, she has given this judgment, Neena Bansal Krishna, but I am only cautiously optimistic about what will happen from here. In fact, I will not at all be surprised if the government continues to act in the manner it has, continues to, its agencies continue to act in the way they have. And it will be unfortunate if it does, but I won't be surprised.
yeah, but we actually, because we remember the case of Justice Murali Dharan,
There
another
are there have been some.
another Delhi High Court
Yeah,
judge.
all I can say as a citizen, the Supreme Court of India has given some excellent, very important judgments. And I also think the same Supreme Court has given some terrible judgments. That's my personal view. I
Yes,
mean, the observation of the Supreme Court judge, of the bench of the Supreme Court, headed by Chief Justice of India, Surya Kant, and Joy Mallo Bakchi, when they said that there were 34 lakh people in West Bengal before the elections whose names were under adjudication. And the judge observed that if your name is not on the voter list, you cannot vote. But don't worry, if your name is back on the voting list after the adjudication process is over and you are found to be a genuine voter, then okay, then you can vote the next time. To me, such a statement, an observation is shocking, absolutely. And
yes, it
I,
was. It
I
was.
personally believe I am very, very critical of such statements and observations.
This was there. This statement was criticized all over the country by in various quarters, and that's of course that is justified. The criticism is 100% justified. That okay, you cannot vote this time. You vote next time if you are a justified voter. Now, another thing also comes to our mind, that okay, you destroyed this thing, you have demolished this thing, you have finished one independent media platform. Now, should it not be compensated for?
Precisely. The loss of jobs, the loss of income. Who is responsible? The judge says you did not break any law. There was no cheating, no fraud. All the allegations, you, the Enforcement Directorate, the Economic Offences Wing of the Delhi Police, you've not been able to establish. Are you now not responsible for compensating, at least monetarily compensate the losses that your actions have created? I think that should happen. Whether it will happen or not is another matter. I
This is,
cannot
yeah, I
predict
understand.
what
This
will
is
happen.
this is common sense. This is common sense. And in this, whatever happening in the country, this judgment is a silver lining. We must say that. We must all appreciate that. But then, okay, the time will say what is going to be the next. But then, this much today we can say that there's a vilification campaign not only against the NewsClick and the people who are involved associated with NewsClick, a vilification campaign against all the, you see, small media houses, independent media houses who were critical of the government. Now the High Court, this judgment of the High Court, Delhi High Court, so it has proved that okay, there's nothing wrong. All the allegations are false. Everything was, you see, now it falls
So
flat.
your viewers should read the judgment. It's 40 pages. It's this judgment should be read.
Yes, I
It's
think
very
yes.
important, I think.
All of us should read this judgment. All of us should read this judgment and go to the, you see, to the details of the things, the detailed observations made by the judge. So I think so. For today, we have discussed this issue from all the angles, and we'll have to wait and see what happens, what would be the next step. But as a common person, it comes to my mind, it comes to your mind also, that if after such injustice, the person who are the sufferers, they should be compensated. They should be compensated. Two things come very clearly. One, these sufferers should be compensated, and people who are responsible for this, they should also be made accountable for this. We need justice. Then only we'll see that justice is actually done. Otherwise, if one can just do such things to anybody who is who is not supporting your views, then it is dangerous for the media, it is dangerous for the society. So I think these two
So
things.
it is dangerous for democracy. It is dangerous for freedom of expression. The very basis. I mean, the media is supposed to be the fourth pillar of democracy. Article 19(1)(a) of the Constitution of India gives the right to free expression to every citizen of this country. So these would be, I mean, at the end of the day, all these issues, all these freedoms, all these rights, they come in to the picture.
Okay, with this thing, I think we conclude this discussion. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us.